you sick of looking at Netflix and you don't know what to watch?
So many movies out there, you don't know which ones are good, which ones were bad.
You curious about what's out there?
I'm Joey Powers.
I'm Don Tretler.
This is The Best Pictures.
The ones you don't want to miss.
Hit it.
Say hello to my little friend.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Winners go home and prom queen.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
I have to serve this. Deserves got nothing to do with it. No sequel for you.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Best Pictures. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Powers.
And I'm Don Tretler. Welcome to the show.
Today we're going to be talking about Paul Newman.
Paul Newman, yeah, we've been talking about this for
We've
several weeks.
been trying to do it for like a month now. I've had Cool Hand Luke, as you can see. Don has it over there. And I just haven't gotten to it. And I finally got a chance. I haven't seen it all, but I've got the gist of the movie. I don't know how it ends, but we're going to be talking about that. But Colin, by the way, I see you walking away. But who is Paul Newman anyway? He asked me if Newman was the character from Seinfeld.
He was, right?
He was kidding, obviously, but he literally didn't know who Paul Newman was. He had to look him up.
Yeah.
And he did die in 2008. It's been 11 years now since Paul Newman died. And it's crazy because him and Redford were in classics. I mean, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, The Sting, and to me, they look like they're the same age. And yet there's an 11-year discrepancy. Like, Robert Redford is 83, which was Paul Newman's age when he died.
Wow.
And it doesn't look it on screen. They look like they're the same age. I mean, 11 years to me seems kind of like you'd be able to tell the difference. I don't know. I mean, obviously, a 6-year-old versus a 17-year-old, you're going to be able to tell the difference. But I don't know, maybe when you're in your 40s versus early 50s, I guess.
Well, I guess Paul Newman aged well.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, through this whole Paul Newman thing that we've been doing, right? My girlfriend, when we watch Cool Hand Luke, she goes, "Wow, he's good looking."
I was gonna say,
And then on Facebook, one of my friends had no idea I was doing the Paul Newman thing, right? Posted a picture of Paul Newman, probably like in his 50s, and he had like shaggy hair and a beard and stuff. And she writes under it, "Newman." And other women were going in there like, "Oh, I just love those knees." I mean, it was like, they were like worshiping Paul Newman. And I think another weird coincidence with this. I happened to stop by downtown and I saw Rick Angers, who runs our movie theater down there.
Right.
And I said, "Man, you should come on our show sometime." I said, "Next week we're going to do something about Paul Newman." And he goes, "We're showing Cool Hand Luke tonight."
I got your text and I saw it actually before you texted me. I was like, how ironic is that?
If we'd have timed it right, we could have been promoting Cool Hand Luke.
No, it would
at
have
the theater.
last week would have been perfect.
And
the thing is, I saw it and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to go see that. But both nights I had to work till 8 and both nights they started at 7. I was like, that. It's just one of those things. But I don't know. What's your most memorable Paul Newman character, I guess? I mean, I think probably
thinking about
him,
this
right?
guy. But, I don't know. Because I was thinking about The Hustler too.
Which I haven't seen, which is on my list. But.
Right. And then he did The Color of Money, which I was looking for that too, but I didn't get to see that again. But I did see it when it came out. And that's what he won the Academy Award for.
Yes.
I think he was nominated 9 times. Does that sound right? 8, 9 times?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Nobody's Fool. I know he was nominated for. I think that might have been his last Oscar nomination. I think that was 94. Did you see that at all? Because that's actually
I saw that.
That might be my not necessarily his most memorable character, but maybe my favorite performance of his. Because I just remember it being like, it wasn't a big movie, but he like carried the film, and there were other like famous actors, like Bruce Willis was in it, Melanie Griffith was in it. There were some bigger names in it as well, and he kind of owned the movie, and he like dominated the performance. And I mean, he was up against, I think I don't even remember who won it that year, but I think Nicolas Cage actually won. I think it was him, Nicolas Cage, Sean Penn. You know, so there are some big
Some
names.
heavyweights.
Yeah. And I just remember, I think he was Sully. I think that was his name in the movie. And he was a jerk, but to me, he was a likable character because, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of a jerk, so I don't know, I kind of resonated with that. But I don't know, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, that's...
Right.
I looked at like some of his like highest rated movies on IMDb, and I think Cool Hand Luke was actually the highest at 8.2. You know, so that surprised me, and I ultimately, like I said, I started watching it last night, and then
Well, let me ask you this. Without, I promised Joey I wouldn't ruin it. He didn't get to see the end of the movie, so I'm not going to ruin it. But did you see like a similarity between that and one of your other favorite movies, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I never really thought about it.
I hadn't either until I watched it.
I kind of, yeah, like him and Jack Nicholson's character kind of, they're like that, like I guess the outcast, I would say, but at the same time, it's like people want to follow them. You know, the fighting scene in Cool Hand Luke, you know, where he's just getting the crap beat out of him and stuff. You know, it's like, you know, everyone's on the bigger guy's side. And then he earns the respect of everyone, which kind of Jack Nicholson does with the whole, you know, raise your hand scene when they want to watch the World Series. You know?
Right.
So it kind of, those are like probably the two scenes that I would think connect each other, and that makes the people there, you know, the followers, so to speak, just kind of want to follow you and be like, you know, you're kind of our leader now.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the big guy in Cool Hand Luke, to me, I felt was like the leader of the prison at the time. And then once they fought and he just wouldn't go down regardless, you know, the guy picks him up and he slams him down and then he's like, you're going to have to kill me. You know, and he just keeps getting up and then finally the guy just walks off. And I feel like at that point, everyone was like, all right, this guy earned our respect. Now we're just, and the guy that beat him up as well. It's like, you know, he's my guy now. You know, and I feel, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right because I didn't even think of that, but yeah.
Yeah, it just started to kind of remind me, and I've probably seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest within the past couple of years. I watched it again, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I think the big like theme of that, right, the symbolism of it was all these men being run by a woman,
Right?
who was like the mother figure, you know, and Jack Nicholson was the one. That
The
was
one
gonna
guy
bust
that, yeah,
loose.
he's like, I don't care.
He's not going to be mama's boy.
Yeah, you can be the warden, whatever you want to say you are. I'm not putting up with it. And these guys are going to follow me because we're sick of your crap, essentially. And yeah, I do totally get that. That's...
They also had great supporting casts. I mean, in this one, they had George Kennedy was the big guy. We were talking about this. We had Harry Dean Stanton, Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper, yep. Young Dennis Hopper, my God.
I'm trying to remember some of these other guys. I think Anthony Zerbe was the guy that had the dogs.
Those are the only four names that I recognized with the four.
Maybe it's because I'm old. There was the guy that was the original Trapper John on MASH. Not the Trapper John.
The Doctor Show.
Right.
You're talking, yeah.
But on MASH before
Yeah.
the other guy came on.
Yeah, Alan Alda's like right-hand man.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
He's in that? Really?
he was in it.
I kind of want to look
He wears
back.
he wears glasses in this, so when you go back to see the
Yeah.
end of the movie, you'll get to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's in the end, but you might see him. Also, Ralph Waite, who was the father on the Waltons. He was.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen the Waltons. But who is he in that?
Well, he's in this too.
Well, that's what I mean.
He's
Who
just
is he
one
in
of
that?
He's one of the guys that's kind of like in the background.
No, it's cool, like, going back and looking at stuff like that. Because, like, I literally, when I started the movie, I paused it. When they showed all the names, I was like, I have to recognize some of these.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I saw George Kennedy, obviously, everyone's heard of George Kennedy, probably. But then you see Dennis Hopper. And it's like, this is, what, 8-9 years before Easy Rider?
Yeah.
Which pretty much made Dennis Hopper, or made him a household name, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Dennis Hopper had been around. Dennis Hopper was in, I'm pretty sure, he's in Giant with James Dean in a pretty big role. I think he plays James Dean's brother.
How old was James Dean when he died? Oh. Colin, I think that might be who I was thinking of.
I think he was 27.
Okay, that is what I was
29?
thinking of. Because we were talking about Steve McQueen before.
Right.
And I was like,
No.
Steve McQueen died in like his late 20s, early 30s. And then like, and Alex was like, no, and he died at 50.
That's what I was going to say, 50.
But it was James Dean who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
He did die at a young age, okay? Because he was one of the up-and-coming huge stars at the time.
Right.
Just like McQueen. McQueen, ultimately, I guess, did last longer than I thought. But yeah, it was James Dean. So Colin's not watching, but that's who it was, Colin. But I don't know. What do you think about Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid?
I like that movie. And you know what? I didn't see it for a long time. I didn't see it when it came out. I think I waited until I was, I don't know. I probably saw it 10 years ago.
I saw it like 2 years ago. When you kept talking to me about it, then finally I went home one night after our show and watched it, and I loved it.
One of the great buddy movies of all time.
Absolutely.
Maybe the best.
And what happens at the end? I love that.
Oh, when they jump off the cliff?
Yeah, it's like have you seen the movie The Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey? They make a reference to it, and they're talking about how Shane at the end of the movie of Shane, and he's like, "Oh, so I assume you just assume that Shane dies at the end?" He's like, "Well, he's hunched over, and like the kid's yelling for him to come back." He's like, "Well, Shane can't respond because he's dying," and then he's like, "Oh, well, I assume you." Think that Butch and Sundance die at the end or live at the end because you don't see them die. It's just one of those movie references. It's just, I don't know. It's like one of those iconic movies where you don't have to see the movie to understand what they're talking about.
Right.
So, but The Sting I haven't seen.
Sting's real good too. Probably not as, it's not quite on the level of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. But it's good. It might be a step down.
Did you like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid better than Cool Hand Luke?
Ooh, it's tough. Different types of movies. It's like got a different feel to it.
Yeah. This Cool Hand Luke, from the 3/4 of the movie I've seen, it didn't seem as serious as I expected it to be. It seems kind of more like almost like a buddy movie in a way. I mean, like the camaraderie and stuff that they've kind of developed. Like I said, I haven't seen the end, so I don't know how tragic or happy it could be.
I think one of his early ones that I remember being real good was HUD.
Haven't seen
And he's not necessarily like a super good guy in HUD, I think he was probably nominated for that. He might have been nominated for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof too. But to be honest with you, it was early Paul Newman, and it didn't capture me. I was looking at him and I felt like they were reading lines. And of course it was Tennessee Williams. It was a Tennessee Williams play way before. So, but it really felt like they were reading lines and things, where on this, he seems like he's the character.
Just natural, yeah.
And on the flip end of this, I just happened to find that our library has Empire Falls, which was the last thing that Paul Newman did, acting-wise. And he did it with his wife. His wife is in the movie. So I assume they play a couple in the movie. At least I haven't seen the end of it. If they wind up with each other, I would be very surprised if these two people wind up with each other. But he was making me laugh, and he's so excellent in the movie. And he was probably, what'd you say, he died at 83.
Yeah.
So he was probably about 80. And there's some reference where he says, "Yeah, I'm 70." In the movie, like everybody in the movie claims to be these ages, and I'm like, what? Like our favorite actor is in it too. Dennis Farina.
Oh, Dennis Farina.
Dennis Farina's in the movie. He goes, "Look at me. Do I look like I'm 50 years old?" And it's like, Dennis, you're probably like 60 years old.
And he's dead now, too, right?
I think he is, yeah. And then Helen Hunt, she's in it, and she says something like she's 40. And I'm thinking,
you're not 40.
No way. Helen Hunt's got to be like closer to 50 than. So all these people have like messed up ages.
I would almost say Helen Hunt's probably closer to 60 at this point.
You think?
Well, at this point, yeah. I mean, at that time, maybe not. But so these are the Oscars that he's been nominated for. One movie I was going to ask you about that I haven't seen, that I've checked out many times and just never got to. Road to Perdition. Have you seen that?
Oh, with Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, Paul Newman, Jude Law.
Yeah, I think that movie did not get good write-ups, and I don't remember being really engrossed in it. Paul Newman's always good, and he's not necessarily a good guy in that one.
Yeah, he's a gangster in this movie, right?
Which is cool. It's kind of cool to see that he can do that he can not just be the good guy.
Right. Absolutely. Nobody's Fool's another one that I mentioned that I really like this character. The Color of Money, which he won Best Actor for.
Right.
But then you have
Justice for All.
The Verdict, Absence
The
of
Verdict.
Malice.
Why am I confused now? Who's in And Justice for All?
I think Injustice for All is Al Pacino.
Oh, all right. So I'm
Right, that's a
confused.
lawyer movie. Yeah, I
Right.
think that was 79, and The Verdict was 83. Absence of Malice was 82. Rachel.
Which he directed. It was
Oh,
starring.
he was nominated for Best Picture, actually, not actor. For
And
that.
he was his wife starred in that, Joanne Woodward, who he was married to for 50 years.
Best actor in a leading role, 1968. Cool Hand Luke. I thought it was 62. Why did I think it was?
I thought it was like
I thought it was earlier than that.
67, something
Then
like that.
HUD was 1963, Best Actor. Best Actor, The Hustler in 1961. Best Actor in Leading Role, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, 1958. They had a run there.
Makes you wonder. I wish I'd have written down like who he lost to in those different years.
Oh, we should just do a show like once a month on like Gene Hackman. Like he's probably been nominated 8-9 times, like Paul Newman. Who did he win against, and who did he lose against? You know, because I think we talked about the year '86 when it was what's his name, the British actor Michael Caine
Michael Caine won. in
won for
1986.
Hannah and Her Sisters, and
Right.
it was Tom Berenger, William Dafoe, Dennis Hopper for Hoosiers. It's like it was such a loaded field. It's like how good was Michael Caine in that movie to beat all of those guys, or does all those guys just such hateable characters that they canceled each other out, and he was just so charming in Hannah and Her Sisters. You know, it's one of those things that it just I don't know, it would definitely interest me to see. You
Yeah.
know? Golden Globe for Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role for Empire Falls, 2006.
Which I can tell you, just watching this, he's making me laugh. He's just fantastic in this
So
thing.
what is that about?
I think it was taken from a novel, and it's about a small town in. Maybe it's not a super small town, but in Maine, and it was a mill town, and basically all the mills closed, so it's poor, and
Kind of like Wells Falls.
yeah, kind of like Bellas Falls, like a lot of the New England towns.
Yeah.
And it's got to do with like the history of like who, because it's a small town, so who knew who and who did, you know, all these families that went over generations. You know, there's a rich family and poor families and immigrants, and it's kind of interesting. But it's also, I don't know, I feel like the whole thing is a little bit corny, but no knock on Newman, man. He's just fantastic. He's at his best.
Like I said, I haven't seen a ton of Paul Newman, but what I've seen, I'm a fan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, The Color of Money, for the longest time, was probably my favorite movie he was in. I mean, like I said, I liked his performance in Nobody's Fool better, but I liked The Color of Money better because I don't know, it's more of a faster paced movie, I guess. But once I saw Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I was like, yeah, that's.
He was in the Navy during World War II.
Wow.
And I think he came from I think he came from Ohio. I think he went to college, a small college in Ohio. And then I forget how the whole story was, but he ended up going to acting school
Well,
and hit it big.
Yeah, he definitely hit it big. I mean, his legacy lives on. It's probably going to live on forever. I mean, you got Newman's Own dressing.
I just saw the other day. I was in the store and there's Newman's Own raisins
Yeah,
and
that's
dried
what I
apricots.
mean. It's like
and,
it's everything. It's like he's got a whole brand out there, it's
and
just
he
kinda-
wasn't making any money from it. So
It
all
was
the
all
profits
went to charity, right?
Right, still do.
You know,
Still
so-
should. Though it's controversial what's happening.
When I asked who he was, you could have said it's the Newman's Own guy.
It's the Newman's Own guy.
It's
I
the
didn't know
Newman's
he was
Own.
an actor, but cool.
Oh my God.
Have you talked about Cars yet?
No.
That's the best thing he was in by far.
No.
Oh, Cars, yeah.
Did you hear my James Dean reference?
I did.
That's who I was talking about when we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you a story after about that.
Okay. Yeah. And no, I don't think Jimmy Dean's named after James Dean, although it might be. But yeah, another reference that Colin and I were talking about is he's Doc Hudson.
In Cars, yeah.
Obviously, Rock Hudson. You know, so I mean that's another reference. But that's a good movie. I mean, obviously it's just his voice, but you know.
But he's good. But it's good. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great. I don't know if have you seen it? Have you seen Cars?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I watched it multiple times.
Oh, I have too.
over
I've
again.
seen it several. I bet you and Jake probably watched it all the time because that's probably he
Oh,
was
yeah.
probably a kid when that came out.
That was the first movie. Cars was the first movie that I took him to in the theater.
Oh, he must have been young.
Oh yeah, he was little, right?
Yeah.
So that was what?
I think it was 2006 when it came out.
Yeah, something like that. He was only like 3
Yeah.
when I took him to that.
So yeah, I bet you saw Cars a lot.
I'm trying
But it's an enjoyable movie. You know, the first time I watched it, I was watching the end credits. I thought Paul Newman was actually Burt Reynolds.
Oh.
They just sounded so much alike. Because he was just a cranky old man. And Burt Reynolds, I don't know, for like the last 5 or 10 years he did anything. He just seemed like he was cranky and everything.
I wonder if they ever did a movie together. Paul Newman and
Burt Reynolds.
Burt
I don't know. I mean, he passed, what, last year? Burt Reynolds?
right.
So,
Yeah. And he was pretty close to 80, right? Or 80.
I think so, yeah.
His wife, Paul Newman's wife, Joanne Woodward, I looked it up. She's still alive. She's 89. He was married before her. He was married, and I think he had a few kids to his previous wife. And then I think he somehow worked with Joanne Woodward. I don't think it didn't sound very scandalous or whatever. But like he met her and just like, I guess he just like fell in love and left. And had two girls with Joanne Woodward. And they were married for 50 years. They were married up until the end.
That's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking.
And they worked together. They worked together, a lot. Like I said, Rachel. I think he directed her in Man in the Moon Marigolds.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds was 82. So he died pretty much the same age as Paul Newman, but 10 years apart.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they did anything together or not, though.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Though, Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood did a movie together.
I think you told me about this one time.
I think it was called City Heat.
A long time ago, right?
And Burt Reynolds got hurt. Yeah, it was like in the mid-'80s. I was working at the movie theater down in Keene, I think, when it came out. And Burt Reynolds, I think got hit over the head with a chair accidentally. It was like a fight scene. And he lost like his balance. And I think he had to stay in a dark room for like a year.
That's crazy.
So there was a long period of time where he wasn't making movies, and he was pretty.
It was pretty big in the early 80s. I mean, you had Smokey and the Bandit was huge. Stroker Ace was pretty big. That was, I think, like 5 or 6 years after. But I think they did Smokey and the Bandit 2
right
as well.
Oh, and you know what? Like Burt Reynolds, because when we did the Burt Reynolds show, Burt Reynolds did a lot of television. As a matter of fact, he was a regular, I think, on Gunsmoke. Didn't he play a guy that had like a limp?
I
could
so.
be wrong.
Yeah, no.
But he was on TV for a long time before he finally like hit it and went into the movies. And Paul Newman did a lot of television before he finally kind of hit it big.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, when I looked up his credits, I was surprised at how much work he had done.
It seems like when Paul Newman hit it big with movies, though, he took off. Like I just said, like 5 or 6 Oscars and or Oscar nominations in like a 6 or 7 year period.
I think he was nominated for his first movie, The Silver Chalice, or one that was his. I think he was nominated for that. No,
I didn't see that on the list, but I mean,
and he hated it. He hated that movie. When he went back, he was like, "Jeez."
Again, it was
He said that motivated him. His performance, once he had seen it, he was so disappointed. It motivated him to become a better actor.
Good for him. I mean, I was on Burt Reynolds' page and I just saw striptease. I'm like, man, how the mighty have fallen sometimes.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen that or not. He plays such a sleazeball in that movie. It's an absolute terrible movie. But
I think he did his share of bad ones. And Paul Newman, I don't know that Paul Newman necessarily made a lot of bad movies. I was surprised when I went through. He did a couple movies with Robert Altman.
Really? And you're not an Altman fan?
No, I can't see the vision of Robert Altman, but he made a couple films with him, which surprised me.
Was he in the Hudsucker Proxy?
He was in Hudsucker Proxy, which I've never seen.
Yep. Okay.
It's like maybe the only Coen Brothers movie I haven't seen.
I haven't seen it, but I remember his name.
We need to buy it.
We need to buy it and watch it. We'll screen it. We'll play it at the theater.
That's a great
we'll sponsor.
People would go. I would think it's a good movie. From what I've heard, it's a really good movie.
I've heard it's a great movie too. I haven't seen it, and it's something that it didn't seem like it would interest me all that much. So, but we're pretty much out of time.
We're out of time. Have you seen any other movies outside of the Paul Newman movies? What have you watched lately?
I haven't, to be honest with you. I want to go see it too, but I don't think I'm gonna make it before it closes tomorrow night. So
It's not going for a third weekend?
I think it might. I don't know. I think the plan was 2 weeks. I'm not sure.
What have I seen? I'm trying to think. I've been watching the Paul Newman movies. I saw this movie, Darren Aronofsky, The Fountain, and I was kind of blown away. I was kind of like,
Who's in that?
whoa.
Mortensen?
Shoot. No, Wolverine.
Oh, Hugh Jackman. Yes.
Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz are pretty much the
It's a
two.
good cast. Two
Yeah.
very good actors. So
I'm gonna have to bring that one in for you.
it's obviously messed up.
It is.
I mean, it's
wild.
Aronofsky. So anything he does it's worth watching and probably not rewatching.
And I still have your Black Swan, so I'm going to be watching
Black
Black
Swan's
Swan
another
pretty
one.
soon.
I know that's a tough one to watch a second time. I saw it the one time and I haven't seen it since, and I will, but it's rough.
He's a guy I'm going to start watching a bunch of stuff from.
All right, well, this has been our episode of the Best Pictures this week. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Powers.
I'm Don Trutler. These are the ones you don't want to miss.
Yes.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Here's Johnny. Go ahead. Make my day.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.